This is a golden beet. You may know beets as red. These are golden, and they're really, really awesome. So we're going to replace our corn with beets, and we dice them up so they're very similar in size. We have some zucchini, which we peeled and de-seeded, and we diced the same size. Some diced peppers, in which we roasted. You don't have to roast them. You can peel, dice, whatever you're able to tolerate. Some tomatoes. This is an Mr. Stripey tomato, I think is what they call it. But we also have a brandywine tomato here as well that we're going to demo. And then we have for beans. Beans are pretty common in succotash. We are using beans, but we're using bean sprouts. These are going to be much easier for our guts to digest. They're going to be easier on our whole system. And they're very flavorful, packed with nutrition, and they're tender. They don't blast you with all of those insoluble fibers, and they just make it easy for you to do what you do, the number 2. How about that? And then next to this, we have ingredients for a lemon basil sauce, which has avocado, basil, a little bit of olive oil, and lemon juice, and garlic powder. Let's see here. Heat up a pan. You want to use something like very wide that's going to be able to have a lot of surface area. And the reason why is like all of these ingredients will leach out water, so we want to make sure that they're evenly cooking and they're spreading across the pan. If you had double this, I'd even get a bigger pan or do them in batches. As it's heating up, we're going to add a little bit of this olive oil we have here. Sorry, not olive oil, this avocado oil. This is very good for high temp cooking. And we're going to use about, I'm going to say like a teaspoon or 2 teaspoons. Now our pan, we're putting it over a medium-high heat source, right? You can use induction, you can like electric induction, you can use gas, whatever you have, just put it over a medium to high heat because we want to make sure that we're cooking it quickly, and then as we see that it's cooking, we're going to turn it down a little bit so we're not burning it. We want to retain all of those natural colors. We have so many great colors here. The zucchini is a very light green. You have your golden beets, you have your red in your peppers. The bean sprouts are nice and opaque white. And the tomatoes we have are going to just be a mixture of yellow and red. And with all of the green, everything's going to pop off of the plate, and we're going to eat with our eyes first before we actually eat with our mouths. Now we're going to add our beets. When we add our ingredients, we want to season with salt in layers. So a little bit of salt throughout the entire recipe. You don't need to season it perfectly, but you need that salt throughout versus at the end or just the beginning, so it's balanced. That way the salt can absorb in the ingredients evenly. All right, so we gave them a nice little shake, add a little salt on top. And now we're going to add a lid on. While that's cooking, we're going to cut this tomato here. We're going to cut it right in half, and I like to cut it in half again. So my rule is, if it's rolling around, make it flat, or else you're going to cut yourself. There we go. All right, so then we have this little core at the top that we're just going to nudge out, like so. And then just keep cutting it until it's manageable. Like I'm going to cut it into a little triangle again. And at this point, I'm going to take my knife. I'm just going to get as close as I can to the skin so I can fillet the skin off of the meat. And we're doing this because the skin is just a little tough. It's just not that pleasant to enjoy. And it's insoluble. All it's going to do is run right through you. All right, so then we're going to cut it in. Oh, almost cut myself. We're going to cut it again and just give it a nice little rough dice. Right? All right, now let's check our beets to see how they're doing. See how they're looking, how they're cooking. Okay. They're very toothsome. They taste just like corn. We're going to add our zucchini. That was 1 beet, and this actually was half a beet. It was this big. So we added our zucchini. It was one zucchini, 1 medium zucchini. We're going to add a little salt. And then we're going to add our lid back again. We're going to cook this for about like a minute or so, just to kind of get it a little tender and incorporate some of that flavor without having to add liquid. As for the peppers, this is one large pepper. You can use a small, medium, whatever you have. That's not specific by any means. You can use an orange, green, whatever you got. I roasted this pepper specifically because I just like that flavor, but you can peel with a peeler and dice from raw and put this in about the same time, like right now. You'll be able to see now that the colors we have going on are a little bit more festive now, much more like confetti. And that's a good thing. That's kind of what we want from this dish. Succotash to me is that. Like whatever you have in your garden or have around that's seasonal, this is a great dish to serve. Add a little salt. Looks so good. So these bean sprouts, they're mung beans. I got them from the store. Sometimes you'll see that when you see sprouted anything, the exterior of the bean may linger around, and that's okay. Just do a once over if you're not really good with those things in your gut. Just do a once over, pick them out. It doesn't take very long because there's not usually that many inside. But before we add these, I'm going to give it a taste just to see where we're sitting with flavor. It was very good. It tastes very fresh. You can taste the depth of the peppers. You can taste the freshness of the tomatoes. You can taste the zucchini as it's like very bouncy, very fresh. And then the beets, they're very much on the base of this. Like they're very much in the background in a good way. So let's add a little bit more salt. We're going to add our bean sprouts in, and then we're going to turn it off the heat. I like my bean sprouts with a little texture, so I'm not going to cook them too long. We're just going to saute them until they wilt. And this like carryover cooking that's going to occur as we turn the heat off right now will allow them to do so. And now let's get into the sauce. We have 2 avocados, a billy handful of basil here. There we go. And then we have some garlic powder and some olive oil, and it's going to have some salt too. And we're going to insert our knife evenly across until you meet your first cut, like so. Right? Now, this is where we put our knife away. We say, no knife, bye-bye. And you're going to take the avocado, split it like an Oreo, see what side the seed comes out on, and most people here would use their knife and slam it at their hand like a crazy person, like this. I can do that, I'm not showing that. But the way we're going to do this today is we're just going to take our thumbs on the back side of the avocado, push out to where the seed comes out, just like that. Very easy, right? No big deal. And because we're not going to do anything fancy with it, we're going to puree it. We're just going to use a spoon and scoop everything out. Very simple, very easy, and no hospital visits, okay? So now I'm going to add a little bit of oil. We're going to do about, let's just measure with the pit hole. We're going to do about a pit hole, half pit hole. I don't even know how much that is. It looks like a tablespoon. Sounds good, right? And then we're going to sprinkle in our garlic powder. This is I believe a half teaspoon. And before I add the basil, I just want to give it a little blitz. Just to get it moving. We're going to freshly squeeze some lemon juice. If you don't have a strainer, you're definitely missing out. We're going to do about 1 medium-sized lemon. If it is a big lemon you have at home, just do half. Or whatever you think tastes good. Let it go. We're going to let it go a little longer this time. What we're looking for right now is to get this to a texture that I really do like, and then we're going to add the basil, because we don't want to, for any herb, to cut it up too much to where it gets really warm. And that's why the food processor is good for this. If you were to use a high-speed blender, yes, this will happen fast, But when you're dealing with a small amount of substance material, like the very little amount of avocados and basil, sometimes it's hard to get spinning and hard to get out. With a food processor, it's easy to get it out, and it's easy to have it blended up evenly as well. So we're gonna give it a taste. It needs salt. We're gonna let it go for another like 30 seconds. Now we're gonna add our basil. And like a little bit more olive oil. Let's give it a taste. Oh, this is great. It tastes like a pesto almost. I'm not gonna say guacamole because it's not guacamole. Basil is very upfront with lemon, finishing with a little garlic and the fattiness of the avocado and olive oil. Olive oil is not too strong, not too pungent, and that's a good thing. This is going to be our base sauce. You can add this sauce to the top, the side, on the bottom, but we're gonna do bottom because of how we're trying to plate this. If you were plating this for your family, I would do it this way, so everyone can grab what they want. If you're doing it individually, you could do this version, maybe a little smaller. Now, we're going to be plating this like you would see hummus. You're going to start with a lot in the middle, and you're going to work it out. So the way you do that is take your spoon, leave it kind of in one area, and I guess I'm just moving it like I'm sort of painting. And then as I do that, I'm spinning the plate. For anyone who's trying to find the tips of hummus, this isn't exactly it, but it's very close. But this is going to act like a barrier for our succotash, so that if any juices are going to be going anywhere, it's going to stay within our well. So good. Now, we're going to add our succotash. If you did have a hummus, this would be a great garnish. And I would say, and like we're going to have like this liquid hanging out here. I don't know if you can see it. We're going to put that right in the middle, because that's all of the flavors from the vegetables we cooked. That was so good. It was so good. It tastes just like summer. So, for garnish, I would just chop some basil up, just kind of, you already have it around, you should have it around. And it's nice to give more of a visual of like what you're about to eat. So what's going to be inside. And the best way to do that is just use what you got. If you have chives, use chives. If you have parsley, use parsley. If you don't have anything, use a spice. And if you don't have spices, you don't really need to add anything else. Maybe some olive oil. So add some olive oil. We're gonna add our basil. And then we have some scallions we cut earlier. We also showed how to do these in a class before too. This is my version of succotash. So whomever had put this online and asked for this to be a thing, thank you very much. Just look at the colors. You have this beautiful green, fresh avocado, basil, lemon sauce on the outside. You have all these beautiful confettied vegetables in the center. Thank you again to all of the patrons who help do all of this. You seriously help guide me and give me purpose. So thank you very much. And if you want to learn how to be a patron and become one, you can do that by clicking the link below. You can do it free just by following, or if you want to donate, do it there as well. And I'm gonna go, but thank you all so much for hanging out with me. I'll see you next Thursday at 1 p.m. I don't know what I'm cooking, but stay tuned.